So we haven't done much with the BMW for a while. I did take it for a ride after getting it back after the ignition switch was replaced. But there's a couple of issues that need doing in order to get it on the road, and one of those is the brakes and shockies. And then there's also a little bit of rust in it too, apparently, so we can have a look at that while we're under there. I got it parked here and it's up alongside the shed. I've got some axle stands so I can jack it up and put it on axle stands. The other thing about it too though was the rear door. We did a video about removing this inner door panel here, but the issue is the pull lock. Now we got that off and I'll show you what the issue is. This is the bit that goes into the door, except it goes in this way, and it hooks on to what's called a bell crank, which is inside here. Now I've got the bell crank out at the moment, so all you can see at the moment is the hook there, which is what operates the lock. You see that? Which is what operates the lock. Let me show you the bell crank. This is the bell crank. Don't ask me how I got the name bell crank, but that's what it's called. But it's really in essence just a 90-degree lever, like so. And that bit that broke off here is the part that's attached to the pull knob on the door, and that part there is the one that's attached to the lock. So as that pulls up, it levers this way and pushes or pulls that rod. So it's a pretty simple thing, and this is not available naturally, nor do I want to even try to glue it or mend it or pin it or, you know, put some mesh on or anything like that, because I don't think that the material would be up for it, given that it's 50 years old. It broke presumably because it was brittle, and if I just patch that and it's successful, it'll only transfer the load to somewhere else, you know. So for example, you know, this arm might break off, or this pin might pull right through, you know, because it's just a hook, and it might just snap that little eyelet off. So I figured I'd make one, and I reckon I could make it out of aluminium. And I managed to scavenge a chunk of aluminium from a friendly, well, not scrap metal, engineer. So I think that potentially I could get a couple out of that if I wanted to. If I wanted to make two, to be sure. Yeah, I think I could easily get a couple out of that. And the idea, of course, would be to draw it out on a bit of paper, transfer that to cardboard, transfer that to MDF, and then cut it out of MDF, and then see if that actually does the trick, because I could even put that inside the door and see if it does the job. Now the issue too is going to be that that part there is where it swivels, is right there. So whatever goes in the center has to also provide a pivot or swivel point. Let's get drawing. There's a song by, I think it's Melissa Etheridge, that goes like, it's like rain on your wedding day. Isn't it ironic? Now, I've hunted the world for what's called a bell crank assembly, and I've spoken to you about this before. And then suddenly, when I've gone and got myself a bit of aluminium, one turns up. Now, this is not exactly the same, but I reckon it's kind of close enough to do the job, except it's a mere €3.36, but in order for me to buy it, I have to pay 85 euros to get it sent to me. So why don't we just stick with what it is that we're doing and make one? So we've got a drawing here on this pad we'll transfer that to card, and then eventually to MDF, and then ultimately to aluminium block, because that's going to take us a little time, but it's going to save us 85 euros. How much is a euro in freight? So let's try it on here first. So I don't know whether you can see that or not, but do your best. That's the cardboard cutout there, and it doesn't need to be exact. I mean, this is not a precision bit of machining or engineering by any means. All that happens is that this sits inside the door, and the pull-up lever does that and operates a rod that does that. So it's a pretty simple pivot mechanism. So this is the hole where it goes. You can see that there. And this is the device that we made. It has to go this way because that long arm is the one that pulls up from there, and that hook has to go onto the bottom hole, and then the other one comes in and goes on the top, like so. I haven't quite figured out whether it's this way or this way yet. I think it's that way. So let's try and do it. I don't expect it to be highly successful, given that it's just made out of MDF, so it's not super strong. Kind of a bit like cameras, isn't it, really? This there we go. So we got hold of that, and then if we turn that like so, that ought to bolt straight in, assuming we can actually hold it there while we put it on or in. There we go. So if we put a nut on the end just for now, I wonder if the issue is in fact the stiffness in here. There we go. So push down to lock, pull up to unlock. So we know that works. We just need to free that up, and we need to make this out of something a bit stronger than MDF. So I think we're successful. So look, while we make it, let's get some lithium grease, put some in there, and that hopefully will free all of that up. So when we make stuff, rather than using the original custom made, we're always going to have to deal with issues. So this is the block of aluminium that I've got for making this bell crank out of, and that's that MDF one that we made that worked perfectly well. Naturally, MDF's not the best material for it. The issue is, of course, is that we want to try, first of all, of reducing rattle, metal to metal, and reducing friction, which they used, which they did very well by using a nylon made piece so that it spins relatively freely on the bolt that holds it. Nylon, you know, or plastic against steel. But what we will have though is aluminium against steel, and so we need to have some kind of bush. Now I've got a couple of plastic bits that I picked up from a plumbing shop, which I hope we can either adapt or in some other way use. So these are just water fittings, but they'll probably do fine to use as an insert so that we can run a bolt through and have the bolt pivot on the plastic or nylon rather than on the metal. But the other issue, of course, is where the bell crank itself hooks up to the rods, which is here, is that it's in once again a nylon bushing here, and we'll have it in a metal one if we drill a hole in that. So in that hole there. So I kind of thought maybe we could use a rubber grommet, because it's not like it's got a turn in it, rather it's just got a pull on it. But the issue then with the grommets is their thickness. They're really only designed to be on a thin material. It may be difficult for you to see, but that slot there where it seats is very thin, and compared to this it's very thick. So whether we have to cut the grommet in half and using epoxy glue it into the hole, but that seems risky given that it might just easily wrench free given enough force. So let's think about that, but let's first of all tackle the issue of the central hole, this one, where it pivots, and see what can be done with this. Now this one here, if drilled out, will fit over that, and that may well be the best way to go. It just means that the central hole will need to be bigger. So let's maybe try that first, because that is in fact probably the easiest way of doing it. We've finished this, and while we've put nothing in here, maybe we'll rely on the fact that it's hooked and therefore jammed and won't rattle. I guess we'll soon find out. Now what we have done, and I'll show you this up close, is lopped off one of those plastic pieces here, and I'll show you, and then we threaded this. Can you see that? Threaded that, and then we can screw that in, but it's not a tight fit, like so. We'll put a little plastic washer on the inside, and if that's pinched, it still rotates on the thread. You know, if it wears the thread out, well, who really cares? Because that's going to act as both the pivot point and as the stop for the bolt. Now we found a different bolt, and that is this one. And it's an M6 in exactly the same way as the one that's on there, and all we're going to do is make sure is shorten this or pick up a different bolt. But for now, let's just try it, hey? I don't know whether you can see this or not, but with those holes, the metal is too thick for the hook to pivot in it. So all I've done is countersunk it so that it can hook in. So you see what I mean? So that will actually now hook. whereas before it wouldn't. It took a bit of reshaping. As you can see, I've put a more of a round end there, and I had to countersink that even further because it just would not hook onto that inner bar. Now it does. In fact, before we do, we'll put that plastic sleeve in. I'm just going to see if this actually works. Then this one in, it goes up that way, so maybe we ought to put it on this one first before we even put it in, because we know it goes on. There we go. Right there. That, if we can put that nut and that washer on, the bolt is too long. Till we get a shorter bolt, it won't work. How about if we put it through from this side first? Then we can fit the nut on the inside and at least test it until we can get a shorter bolt. Look, it's working. It's quite stiff, but maybe that's just the way it is. We know it won't break now. There's nothing to actually bust. We just need to get a shorter bolt, then we're done. Gotta get a little spanner for this, Levy. Yeah, let me get a little spanner. Well, I don't think you could do it because your thumb's not, well, you don't have a thumb. There we go. So that's rock solid, and that works. So that's a nylock nut on there, so that won't come undone. Job done. Now there is, and I'll show you quickly, the check strap on this other side door. That'll be the next job that we tackle. See that check strap? It's not attached to anything at all. Can you see that? So we need to figure out what's going on there, so we'll need to take that off and have a look at that. But that'll be next time. For now, I think we can call that as the job well done. Oh, I meant to say, about $1.50 is what it cost. I got the aluminium for free. I paid for a little water fitting thing, which is what I used as the bush, and I bought a bolt. Well, I bought a pack of bolts. It was like $6 for 12 of them or something, you know. So 50 cents. Thanks for watching.